use them 20 minutes once or twice a week, or maybe more, depending upon how busy that kid is. So really, it's not complicated. Now, how busy will they be with that? I don't know. It'll probably have to evolve a little bit, you know, and the schedule does have to kind of work out where the kid that you really want private lessons with happens to be in a study hall or have some flexibility. At the same time, I'm scheduled for lessons. And it, you know, but I also might have a 30-minute elementary special. So I got a 30-minute elementary special, it's a 47-minute class period, I got 17 more minutes. If we hustle 10 minutes, we can, you know, let's do this. Why, you know, but we gotta hustle. We gotta prioritize, it's gotta be scheduled. It's not during your study hall, come and see me if you want to sing. It can't work that way. So we need some strong leadership from our two music folks to find out where their kids are, when they're available, and then to make those schedules. Okay, and get themselves access to kids, and that's, you know, elementary as well, upper elementary through high school. So we hope that evolves into, you know, I'm able to meet and work with kids on a one-on-one basis.
So, Mr. Zimmer just replaced a halftime teacher.
Correct.
So is he, other than these one-on-one, is he got a fuller schedule this year?
Well, he does. I mean, we put them both in band because we think it's good to have two music professionals.
Same time.
And now they also can say, okay, I want brass. You know, brass is Katie's thing. Brass, you stay here. Percussion, you go with Mr. Zimmer, and you're going to work on the. I mean, so they, you know, we have the like I said, the flexibility to do that. So because it was an investment to go from halftime to full time, it was an investment. We knew there'd be some fill in the schedule concerns that we have to be able to live with right now. We're still kind of living with that, but I hope to be able to report to you after we get well into the flow of the fall, how many private lessons we're offering, you know, to kids. You know, and again, you know, our numbers right now in the high school are as low as they're gonna be for a lot of years.
Can that work into the elementary?
It
Yeah,
can.
The private lessons?
Yes, it can, probably not below 5th grade.
Sure.
Probably not unless you're a prodigy.
They're not in band then anyway.
They start band in 5th grade. Yeah. Otherwise, it's pretty much a pretty typical rollover schedule, to be honest with you. You know, I give a tremendous amount of credit to Mrs. Earhart. I mean, you know, pretty much for the most part, her baby there. But we consulted multiple times over the course of this. We have an opportunity for off-dual credit in a variety of different courses, math, English, Mrs. Reese. If we can arrange that, that would be great for kids to get English dual credit with her. Also, Mrs. Jacobson now is providing dual credit through Wayne State. She's a tremendously talented teacher, popular in the food science area. So, I mean, that's always great when you have teachers that have that level of certification, master's degree, to be able to offer that dual credit for your folks. And a shared extra duty assignment schedule with you, and that's you know, coming together. There's a couple of things yet that we still will figure out, but we feel really good about our sports filled with our coaches, assistant coaches. Mr. Reed had a head coaches meeting last Thursday. New head coaches were there as well, and they all together built the summer calendar. So football's doing this, basketball's doing that, volleyball's doing that. Now there's conflict, and how am I going to manage all this? We're not doing that, you know. So we got all those coaches together. We got a master calendar of summer activities to include. Here's weight room times. Here's when football clinic is. Here's when basketball league is. Here's when open gym is for volleyball. The kids are busy, and they should be. I mean, I'm not going to apologize if kids are busy. If they're not busy, generally, it's not too. I mean, I don't think they need sit around time. I just don't. Especially if you want to be an athlete. So I mean, they're going to be busy. Probably no busier this summer than any summer. I mean, really. But Ms. Reed, just terrific job at leadership. Terrific job at leadership of our athletic department and our coaches. I love it that he got them all together. I love to just been in that room and watch him operate and see our head coaches, you know, talk about, you know, unity, working together, one athletic program, not this sport and this sport and this sport and this sport. So, you know, just feel really good about that.
I hate to throw a monkey wrench in that, but did they bring softball and baseball coaches in that at all discussion?
I don't believe they did. Yeah. I don't believe they did. Whether that was part of the conversation, I don't know. But I know it's not on their calendar.
Right. It's always nice to at least get their, kind of get their feel when they're
Yeah.
doing stuff too. So
Yeah.
there's-
Most everything that is happening is, I mean, the way it's a 7 to 9, 7 to 9. But 80% of our kids, 90% of our kids left 7 to 9 in the morning.
It'd be the camps.
And most year, it'd be, yeah.
If they happen to fall in with games,
I know.
tournament or something.
Yeah, I can speak to that, because I coach 1400 baseball anyway, and I already talked to Boyer anyway, and Mr. Schmidt anyway, about kind of working out schedules and whatever else. They've been pretty understanding anyway, so they know Mondays and Thursdays are clear game nights, and, I usually have practice on Sundays to try and not be conflicting with weightlifting or anything like that they've got, or they're gonna have a summer camp coming up for wrestling, for example, in Montana. Well, I can probably reschedule games or something out anyway. They'll take away some of my ball players, but not all of them. So, yeah, you kind of get the idea anyway.
But I'm just glad that you guys were involved.
Yeah, usually there's some talk. I'm not sure about the softball side. Brady, Blake, and Nancy Meltzer, but it usually all works out.
Yeah, and for example, yes, coach is taking them to Montana, they're gonna be gone 5 days. Well, at least he's not taking them to Montana this week, Ohio the next month, and then I wanna go to Oklahoma State, so at least it's, it's reasonable. I mean, some coaches are crazy that way. I mean, it's them first, and then you can have kind of the pieces if there's anything left, and we just, so it's he has some open mat time that, as well, so that's just the way it has to be, obviously, in our school, where we want kids in multiple activities.
My expectation has to be, though, that my sport, baseball anyway, that's not varsity sport. It has to take a little bit of a backseat.
Yeah, but it's a
anyway.
summertime sport.
Right,
The other
but-
ones are all school sports.
But, it's not a varsity sport. It's something for the kids to kind of have something else on the side, so.
I do need to share with you that our regular scheduled June meeting, I will be gone, so the policy allows us to have a meeting whenever, if you advertise in advance. So if you want me to be here, we probably need to go the 3rd or the 17th. Summertime, of course, you guys are gonna be every now and then
I'd say let's go a week later.
moving about.
I was gonna ask about this anyway. Mondays, anyway, usually in the evenings, I've got the baseball, Jim, you'd have the boy playing too. I don't know if there's a chance we could go to a Tuesday, or we can even go earlier in the day on Mondays at all. Otherwise, I'll probably.
For my schedule or something. It's up to you guys.
I'm asking.
Like how early?
Doesn't matter to me.
Well, typically my games are usually at 8 o'clock, but I've got a son playing at 6, Jim would have some playing at 6 too.
I can't go any earlier than 5:30.
Yeah, that'd be tough, so I didn't know if we would move to a different night.
You come over Sunday after church, bring donuts.
Yeah, we do.
Does that be on a Monday?
No. No.
But it would only be the month of June, if possible, otherwise, it's
Forward up.
yeah. So I'm throwing it out there.
As long as it's not a Friday night.
No, I'm not asking
Call
for
from
that.
Cancun.
So, do you want to just discuss this via email?
Yeah.
Yes.
But the 17th would not be preferable to you because it's a Monday?
Mondays and
Why?
Thursdays are usually game nights.
Okay.
I'm on the 20th or 23rd of June, otherwise
How about the 18th? We just set up for the 18th.
Tuesday, the 18th?
That'd be fine. That work out?
Works for 7 o'clock.
Sure.
Make it tentative.
I'll get that advertised, but I'll put it on my calendar if I hear anything different. But Tuesday, the 18th, to the June regular Board of Education meeting.
And we can change it, I mean, we have up till we.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, thank you.
At 7?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, we are adjourned.
All right, now you can go and watch TV.
Oh, that one, Evelyn, actually, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I was supposed to have one at night.
Holy cow. Okay,
Both of them.
we need to go back, now. Cleans over with the district champion.
All right,
That's awesome.
he was district champ.
I'm wonderful in yourself.
Okay. Good job.
Busy summer
Get the news out.
Very busy summer.
Maybe that's why you did that.
Oh my gosh, can I not get a catchphrase?
Well, you just got that college scholarship. Last week was just on the scholarship. Yeah.
Better show them I need it.
Yeah.
You signed too soon, but I got a little more.
Are you?
All right, see you guys. Better not be ready now.
Do you have the summer grade project?
Thank you.
Or have your copies?
There are the doors.
You're supposed to have a game tonight.
They did, and I can cut out.
They didn't fuss too much, I think they were still finished up.
We only just had two.
Yeah, we did those two.
We didn't have
Sunday
big
night.
Okay, this one.
I got coming up, I got it.
Take that, get down. They did improve some draws.
Which one's going on through that? Is this the Thursday? Was it again? Or is there other stuff they did?
No, it was bedroom and the south entrance. And the only one they didn't do was the shop.
Okay.
So the shop classroom they're doing, the band room they're doing, and the south entrance is your.
So those are alternates, so like the band room, they just had a
Band room, you do heat.
That was in addition to it?
Yes.
Okay, I think I have that written down.
Yeah, so that was good.
Yeah, I was like, white picks, and it was something.
The air conditioning of the 1920 building is gonna be by Carlos, it's out of Wausau.
Oh, it is, okay, yeah, across the years.
Yeah, he was in here. So essentially, they threw $200,000 to do, this was the variety of things we had done. So they're essentially gonna do all of this $400,000 ceiling rent tile, small detectors for this whole line, so.
Just in case. Nah, that's a lot.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
So they produced CC.
He can ask.
Basically, the entrance to the chemical office.
When you put a lot
They improved it. LED lighting. Let me, yes, I can get you acquainted. Let's go.
Yeah, it's not too much trouble.
Not at all.
It's not- It's not terrible, it's a lot of fun. You know what, it helps you decompress just a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah, sorry, I shot it off on
Okay, that's what I've got to do.
We still, let's go around and get what?
Yes.
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 Krista?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Hey, number 16, just like
I
that.
have one question.
Yeah.
Are you gonna advertise for bus drivers right away?
I sure can. I mean, I should talk to Bob and see. I will, as soon as I talk to Bob, find out exactly what should we put in the ad so folks know.
Right, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
need tomorrow, but I mean.
Yeah,
All the ones
Yes,
we have
football.
probably want to stay now.
yeah, we sure can.
I mean, we may as well get that process started through the summer, because they have to be
Yeah.
tested and all that stuff, don't they?
Yeah, and we can put in there, $50 a route, $100 a day, whatever, and that will help.
Right.
So you had a couple of them that were kind of in the process. Do we want to,
I-
have they dropped out, or do we want to offer this to them and see if they want to finish it now and
I
maybe don't have
know
to advertise?
where Bob was on that. That was all Bob.
Okay. So, I mean, if you had somebody that was already close, you hate to have them lose out now because.
Well, I'm sure he'll promote
Just
this.
have other people, want
Yeah.
the job now.
He'll promote it. Okay, so I'll share with you this morning about circumstance of 16. I have 2 interviews set up this week. So, I mean, there are viable qualified candidates still out there, so that's the way it is, and that happens. So, but, so move forward quickly and
So could some of those be English teachers yet, or that pretty much
no,
set?
no, we're really pretty much set, unless we got in dire straits. because, that's a role that Emily fills now. We can't lose a staff, I couldn't do half English, half counselor, like she's doing now.
No, I didn't mean that, I
But-
just
but
mean, are you looking at hiring maybe an English teacher,
Yeah.
and moving her to?
I would have to re-advertise for English, and 2.5 months of English got me 4 hours. I more aggressively pursued an English teacher maybe than any other position. Best English teacher I've ever been around in Central City went to his principal and he was told he wouldn't be able to get out his contract, so he didn't even apply. I did, Kyle contacted me because I was trying to nudge him and he was like, oh, geez, I don't know, I've been here 20 years, why would I go somewhere else at this point? So I had Mr. Schmidt contact him and he went and contacted his principal and she said, nah, we're not gonna let you out, which it was still April, so it was irritating, but, and then a former student of mine, I maybe shared with you, I offered to him, he interviewed well, he was gonna be fantastic. He decided to become a priest instead. So,
Who said it isn't powerful talking to you?
Almost talked him, I almost wanted to argue over that, almost, but,
My question is he even Catholic?
so that was, better Catholic than you, I know that. So, it's just, they're just not out there, there are not many out there, that's a fact of the matter. I'm surprised that there are more counselor apps than English apps, but a couple, good looking candidates, in a week might have somebody that's excited about coming.
So we'll be looking at, they won't be certified, they'll be doing school.
They're all working on it.
Okay, while we're talking about that working, can we look at the 407.2, that policy? Because unless I'm mistaken, I don't see where it says anything in here that we will pay for them.
No, what it does say is,
It reserves the right to pay any teacher, is that what you're talking about?
yeah, the administrator may, when it feels the best interest of the school district and students approve deviations to courses, no, that's not it. The new salary advancement policy relevant to college coursework. What, I quoted that to you, right, was, let's see.
You said the board, or the policy.
The board reserves the right to pay any teacher additional salary for special services and/or experiences with particular needs.
Is that where the school
That's,
would fall?
that's right, yeah, that's where I feel you would be justified to do it, particular needs. Like I said, I did some research, checked with some other superintendents, it is not unusual. You don't really want to go there for the reasons that you all brought up. You really don't want to go there if you don't have to. And maybe it's something that gets brought up with the teachers in negotiations, it gives you flexibility. Would they be okay with having a negotiated agreement that the board has the right to consider tuition reimbursement for, a candidate assigned to a position out of a Dorset area that has to go and get certified? Again, it's not unusual, but if it's a negotiated agreement, then it's easy for you. It's not ambiguous at all.
The hard part about that is, okay, what circumstances are you gonna pay and not pay?
That's what the board is
How far down the road are you gonna start paying?
Well, and under these circumstances, I don't think you would generally consider it if somebody had opportunity for salary advancement. If they don't, then that's a different consideration, but if they don't, it means they're making a heck of a wage already. But still, if you go and you're paying a master's level tuition, that's some good money out of your pocket, and to not be able to get that 4.25% bump after 9 hours is reasonable, and I think in this case it was a factor, and that's the way it is. I spent about 2 minutes being upset about it. And move on.
So maybe the next candidate we won't have to consider.
No, any of the rest of the candidates are not under these circumstances at all. They're already working towards it. It'll be on them to get it. It wouldn't be a discussion at all.
So was the bigger issue that she was at the bottom of the pay scale, or was it that we maybe wouldn't pay for the school?
Well, she's for your in-person retirement, you want to try to spike your salary at the end, and so to take a pay cut to come here,
Oh, interesting.
and then not have a chance to bump back up, take a pay cut, and not have a chance to, it just was, and then I don't know the other circumstances, I don't know conversation with the family and all that business, but, just felt hard.
Can you get a percentage of those?
So 16 can just die for lack of motion.
17, discuss and take possible action on computer purchase for new principals.
Okay, our computer purchase last month was for teachers. We had 2 new principals, Mrs. Novicki used laptop exclusively. Okay, and so now we have 2 new principals, so we need 2 laptops. Each of them also prefers a desktop like I use, so I mean, I don't operate exclusively just from this. This is my travel, so I can take business home. So we have the funds for this in the Office of the Principal code. But it's just over $5,000 for their electronic devices.
Before computers.
Yes.
So these are just computers, these don't include the laptops.
It does include laptops.
Okay.
So this is 4 computers.
Oh,
Yes.
4 computers.
Yes, sorry.
Oh.
2 desktops, 2 laptops.
Maybe brand new.
They would be.
Yeah. So the one she has goes back into the system?
Yes. And we might use it for, one of our technology courses where they need a little beefier memory. Because, some of the things they're doing, like the Photoshop, which right now it looks like we're not gonna do that. We're gonna do something else with technology. But yes, Mr. Sauser knows that I've got one real beefy laptop to use. That won't be a general population computer.
I'll make a motion that we purchase new computers for each principal not to exceed $5,500.
I'll second. Norm?
Yep.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries. The reports, activity director's report. We all have that. Pretty small. Do they have any questions? We can move on if not.
Can you hear how the golf team did today?
They're tired
Now, Houston.
from walking.
Yeah, that's a big course.
But what a beautiful day to play golf.
Probably the best one we've had all year.
Best day
Yeah.
and in an absolutely wonderful course.
Turns will probably hang it out.
Brutal.
Track was good too, that Friday they had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Principal's report. I'll have a chance to read that. If there's any questions? You said the retirement party, if, Krista's gonna try to make it if, we'll rain out or something. It's always nice to have board members like that, so keep that in mind. Okay, President's report. Yeah, I'm just gonna respond a little bit on, we had a closed session and talked about the exit survey. We kind of decided that this probably isn't a good time to do it. We have so much of a turnover, and we're gonna have so much change in our system already with new teachers, new principals, new administrators, that, how would you use an exit survey anyway? You don't wanna lay something on a new teacher, new administrator before they even started. So we just kind of felt that it wasn't a good time to do it. I mean, maybe down the road be a different story, but at this time we just kind of tabled it. So if that answers your question. I will congratulate the tracksters that made the state. Don't have all their names, but good luck to them. So that's all I have. Superintendent, you're up.
Okay, I had some questions about driver's ed. Mrs. Gaunt's a driver's ed instructor, and we're losing her. Driver's ed is not a Rule 10 requirement, and as I mentioned to you, you can't even get that endorsement on your teacher certificate anymore. So it's just kind of a nice thing for a school teacher generally to provide service, to provide the community, and almost always in cooperation with the school. They usually do it in the school, school resources. Should they, maybe not. I mean, they get paid, $200 a kid is a pretty cheap rate if you're keeping, that covers most of that, but mostly the salary for whoever keeping driver's ed. So called Northeast Community College, they offer driver's ed. Gal was supposed to call me back today with some details, and she didn't. I contacted Creighton, they've got a guy, he said, I'd love to have Plainview. So he sent me his information, I can distribute that to our families, so there's a closer option. Osmond Co-ops with Bloomfield wants to offer driver's ed. So it's a luxury if you happen to have somebody that can do that. It's a great little summer gig. You just ask down in Tassmeyer, right? And just need to be fortunate to have somebody. If you don't, it's a burden then for your public to determine how much of a priority it is to get my kid to Norfolk, take driver's ed. But I do have some information from, I contacted Superintendent McCray, and he put me in touch with their driver's ed instructor, and he was pretty enthusiastic over email, and sent me a piece of information that he said I could sure distribute.
There isn't as much of an incentive to take driver's ed as what there was.
I don't think so.
You don't get the break on the insurance.
It was just normal back in the day.
You used to get a pretty good discount
Right.
on your insurance for that 14, 15, 16-year-old that took it. Now you don't. It's just no.
Not so.
And you
It
can,
was not
you can
required.
book the hours yourself now, can't you? Just with parents and stuff.
As far as like for your learner's permit?
Right.
Yeah, that's, I mean, Tanner did that. And so he, as a 14-year-old anyway, 50 hours.
So you have to do it for learners permit.
You have those log hours for learner's permit. Not, you don't have to specifically take driver's ed. You just have a parent in the car anyway. You log 50 hours anyway. You turn that in the day of your test and you take your test. That's it. But you know, you used to get a pretty substantial discount on
Right.
your driver's insurance, you know, for that teenager. Now you don't. So,
Now you do if you let them track it. You know, they track it through your phone.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it's-
More
Or
That-
speed
that's
limit.
right.
Yeah, keep track of how fast you're
Or they raise it.
So, you know, I'll make sure that information is out for folks. Just a little bit on the legislative update. I don't know how much you follow the camera. There's a couple things that are still of significant interest out there, and one of them is the tuition credit or the tax break for providing tuition assistance to. That doesn't have a tremendous amount of momentum. That's in there. The property tax relief stuff applies to schools. It's not really a school issue, but definitely, you know, would apply to schools if they lower the base, you know, amount of valuation. You know, that's gonna be an effect on school districts and budgeting this fall, so we're watching that close. You know, another one is still teachers being able to smack kids around if they're being naughty, essentially, and to kick them out of their classroom, and the teacher has the right to kick them out and say they can't come back. So even I think the teachers union is opposed to that one, but essentially came from a senator who had a school district in his district where a kid went off and nobody touched him, and he destroyed a room full of computers because they don't want to touch him, we just gotta let him cool down. And this guy was like, are you kidding me? Why didn't somebody stop him? And he's very right. I mean, I think I can safely stop a kid from destroying a room full of
You
computers.
don't have to smack them around.
Yeah, I probably would have smacked him around by accident. But anyway, so we're just still, it's kind of coming to fruition, you know, a lot of these, so I think it's a race to the finish to see what really kind of, you know, comes through on that. Our teachers started making deliberate positive contacts home. This spring, we contacted 219 parents. Some of them were probably duplicated, but we made 219 positive contacts home in the form of notes, phone calls, notes and phone calls primarily. I mean, and these aren't, your kid did great on your science test. These are character things. Parents do like to hear when their kid's doing well academically, but they feel better when they get a call from school that your kid is a great citizen. Your kid helped somebody out. Your kid showed great character today. Let me tell you about it. And so I said, teachers, I want once a week, deliberately try to catch a kid doing good and then call their parents and call them at work. And that's not an easy thing for teachers to do. A lot of them felt good, you know, just a little handwritten note, and that's fine, and that was fine. But just, you know, we far and away made more positive contacts home than call and say your kid screwed up. We need to have a conversation, and we will continue to do that. It also makes that, when I have to call that same family because their kid screwed up, it's a whole lot easier conversation when just 2 weeks earlier, I called them to say, caught your kid doing something right. You know, so I mean, it's a bit of there's a deliberate reason why we're doing it. So, you know, I appreciate our teachers doing that. Shared with you a copy of the first semester schedule. Mrs. Earhart has registered every kid. As usual, you know, there are just a few things that were kind of complicated. For some kids, had to make some choices. We wish our numbers were stronger in some courses, some electives than in others. It's just, you know, the reality of things, but What would be different on here that you would probably notice now is Mr. Reed, one period for AD is not enough, was not enough, would not be enough for anybody. So we have a little flexibility with him. We always have certified teachers that provides study hall or study lab supervision, and instead of having a variety of different teachers do that, Mr. Reed's gonna be primarily responsible. He's gonna kind of do the lion's share of, he's gonna work with kids. Now, and that's one thing that Mr. Reed does very, very well, is work with kids, not sit at his desk while they read a book or on the other side of a computer doing who knows what. He sits next, he does it very, very well. So, but it would also give him a little flexibility. So if he has study hall in his room 3 times a day, potentially, he still has some flexibility, maybe to take care of a couple of A/B things, given whatever time of year it is, or what week it is, or what we've got coming up. So that's it. That's important, and that would show on there. Our 2 music teachers, Mrs. Earhart and I said, we want to talk to our 2 music teachers. We say, how do we grow your programs? How do we grow your programs? I said, we have to be able to get the kids more. We can't just have them in one large group every other day or once a week if it's elementary. We need more access to these kids. And for some particular kids, we need one-on-one access. Okay, so we need private lessons. So, okay, it's not rocket science. It might have to coincide with their study hall. So if you happen to, if their study hall is first period, probably not gonna work for private lessons in band, or vocal, because both those teachers are in there. But if they've got lessons second period and we've got kids that have a study hall, they can their classes, for some reason, or fill them from within. If we were to assign a science teacher to teach a math course for somebody, we can do that without them saying, hey, wait a minute, that my contract says I'm a science teacher, so.
And obviously, you're not gonna put somebody in a position that they can't handle. It's just-
Obviously.
Does that refer to extra duties assignments too?
Oh, sure, extra duties, extra duties are fully assigned. You can assign any extra duties.
As long as they're certified to do activities.
Yes, but
That's an
No,
endorsement.
my
Yeah.
point is, they need to come for the recommendation of the board. You need to recommend them to the board, correct?
No, administrators assign duties.
Well, then we need to change that, I think. I asked if it refers to extra duties, and you said yes, so I guess I'm confused.
I misunderstood you then. But all extra duty assignments, those are kind of at will, those can be assigned to any certified staff member. Which, you hope it never comes to that, but you can say, hey, I need you to be my NHS sponsor. I don't want to, sorry, we'll support you, we'll help you. Here's what we're gonna pay you, but we have to have somebody, we need somebody to do this, so you can do that. Rarely comes to that, but occasionally, you got it.
So it doesn't say anything about extra duties.
No, but that's part of their duties, if you're assigning it to them.
Yeah, and it does say all employees, as well, so, paraprofessional would, what are we gonna assign them to? Title, SPED, first grade, third grade, wrap around with a high need student, general support. You need that flexibility to know the strengths and expertise of your staff, how to deploy them, essentially. An administrative staff, that's the administrative staff responsibility to deploy staff based on their experience and expertise, and almost always what they applied for. They applied for this, that's what they're assigned. That's generally what happens, but you have to have some flexibility. But this primarily comes from, hiring a principal. Because, Mr. Sauser had mentioned something to me earlier, he says that I don't see it in the policy where it says superintendent hires a principal or makes the recommendation to the board. And there really wasn't anything. Okay, and so that's the main reason this should say certified staff members as opposed to just teachers. That was our practice anyway, essentially. Okay, and I think those were all the recommendations for any language changes, so.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to start.
I'll make a motion to make necessary changes to policy we just reviewed.
It's not on here, is it?
No.
Yeah, we're, yeah, it's not listed as an
And
action
limit.
item, but you can do it, as a discussion, item. You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
That's good, we got it, we can wordsmith that, just
Yeah, all right.
just enough.
Thanks.
Do you have a second?
I already had it written down.
Do you have a second?
As you were mumbling, she finished.
Well, I actually had it before you did it, so.
Myself, yes, Wyatt?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Dr. Thor?
Yep.
Kristen?
Yes.
Okay, number 11, board policy series 30, oh, we did both, just did both of those.
We did.
Yep. Action items, number 12, discuss and take possible action on approving summer facility upgrades. Already did that. That out of line. 13, discuss and take possible action on second reading of board policy number 716, CSSA, non-regulatory business requirements.
Unless you've had any change hard on that from last month, we just need a second reading and then it becomes policy. It's formality required through the change of NCLB to ESSA.
So that one's out there.
I make a motion to approve second reading policy 716 as a non-regulatory business requirements.
Second.
First by Sarah, myself, yes. Dr. Thorne?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Motion carries. 14, discuss and take possible action on the second reading of board policy number 717, disposal of property in the federal grants. Second reading.
Ready for your motion?
I'm ready.
I'll make a motion to approve second reading of policy number 717, disposal of property under federal grants.
Second, Tim?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Kristen?
Yes.
Dr. Thor? Yes. Motion carries. For 15, discuss and take possible action on setting classified wages for 2019, 2020. Everybody kind of get their questions answered, or some other questions on, talk about a couple salaries last time?
Why not? What do you figure out on buses? Anything on that?
Yeah. There are several schools in our conference that pay $50 a week. Nobody pays over 50, but did I say?
You were looking into like what Crofton did, they contracted it.
Yeah.
Did you get anything done on that?
No, I mean, we're running out of kids to bus, I mean, I just,
That's what I wanted to know.
yeah. We are, I mean, that can be a bigger conversation later if we wanna dispense with busing and just pay families, the federal reimbursement rate. Some places do that, I don't know if we're ready for that, but, I don't know that we're also ready to cut another route because we're still a large enough geographical area.
What do you recommend?
Well, I think somewhere close to $50, we will see a bump in interest. Because we're at what, 33?
So you want to preserve the
32.89.
current system?
I do.
Okay.
I mean, I still do.
32.89 right now.
Okay.
$38 was the average for the conference.
Yeah, is that what I sent you? I'd have to go back and look at that. So, I mean, there's not a place that I go really where, when I talk to administrators, they find bus drivers is horrible, and the spring has been even worse yet, but we're too low, for what we expect them to do. But it's obviously entirely up to you, I mean, somewhere between where we're at and $50.
It's gonna be adjusted at any time, doesn't have to be done with the staff raise, does it? I mean, if we
No,
raised it to something that didn't work, and we decided we had to raise it again, we could do that.
You can do that at any time with any position.
What did you say it was now, Kelly?
32.89 for that. So that's like they go out in the morning and come back, that's 1 round.
Would this adjust the activities pay then to?
No,
That's
you have to take that
$12.68.
separate.
Yeah, that's $12.68 an hour.
An hour.
Mhm.
It's like I said before, I wouldn't, you know, that's, especially in the winter time, considering the age and the roads, $38. You know, you'll get Uber.
Just to get out of bed for that?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, we gotta go, I mean, he's had to go with people too, and a lot of those guys at coffee, you know, you can make $100 a day, I mean, they're.
No, I don't know. And I would like to see us get more than enough, so if somebody wants to take a week off, you got somebody in reserve so they can. You know, I think if we could get more than enough, you'd have more people willing to do it, if they knew they didn't have to do it every day.
Just need a motion for that, or you just do it?
Well, we can add it in with our pay raise for the staff.
Okay.
It'll be part of that motion. So, do you have any more on?
Well, I can provide any information you'd like about it, to include, you know, annual, I mean, because I know when you look at this and you're looking at an hourly rate, it doesn't tell the whole story. I did try to fill in some blanks on that a little bit for you, and this obviously doesn't also include whether we're paying a health benefit, which can be a substantial.
Bus driver get that?
No. So the health benefit is only for a 10-month, which is considered full-time classified employees, 10 months or more. So that includes all the office staff, so Tammy, Patsy, Kelly, includes Gail and his staff, which is Jolene and Bill. Bill takes cash in lieu, because he receives health benefit through the military. It includes Bob and McCabe and Tom's house. So they all receive a health benefit.
I guess my question was more with Patsy, the
Mhm.
principal.
Yeah.
Did you get any
So,
information?
yes, now, I think it's probably too difficult to make a determination about how Patsy's role will change, having a principal in her building, in her office essentially. So we're probably a year away from maybe making a true assessment, because I can see both ends of that. I say, oh, her job's gonna be easier because does Patsy do some administrative things? Maybe not really, but as a new administrator to come in and now all of a sudden we have, well, I want this and gotta do this, gotta do that. I don't anticipate that happening either. The biggest deal with Patsy is the health responsibility that she has. I mean, she cannot leave the iPad all day long.
Yeah.
And multiple times a day, she's in direct communication with parents on that. And they may call her, because they have the same information on their smartphone that Patsy is monitoring on that iPad at her desk. And then when she goes anywhere, she carries that with her.
Does she have training to be able to do that?
She does.
Okay, my question was if you could give that to the para in the room where the child was, so they were right there with the kid.
Well, this is a classroom we're going to have assigned to that student, so it's not that kind of disability. But, so it's probably Patsy's the best person, because she's the most stable person all day. You know, and it just sits right there, and I mean, but that's quite a responsibility, you know, and I don't have an answer for it. In bigger schools, you have a nurse that monitors that all the time. And she's a champ. I mean, she doesn't play 1 second about it, but, so we may be, you know, I would like Mr. Schmidt and Mrs. Thompson to be able to make an assessment and potential recommendation maybe about their administrative staff and whether they think this is fair and whether across the board is the way to go, or.
I think that's the best.
Is she up for longevity this year?
Yeah.
She is.
Plus the cost of living, so she's already gonna get 2 raises anyway, if we get one.
Ms. Patsy has the 2% longevity, which is the most lucrative
Right.
that we offer.
At least it's something, but.
Something above and beyond whatever it is that you choose to do here.
I guess I'd prefer to find out the facts instead of trying to guess what's gonna happen down the road.
Anticipate down the road.
And reevaluate again after that. Even if we have to do it mid-year or something like that, if it gets to be a lot more for, because of this, principal, we can always do something.
You can, yeah,
Midterm.
decide it, yeah, just look at it at midterm and decide, talk about it. See how much has changed or not changed.
Okay, so anybody have any questions on any other individual staff? Otherwise, we'll talk about just the general. What do you think on the cost of living areas? Do we have any numbers? We did 2.5 last year, I believe. We did 2.5 for them, and we did 2.5 for Patty. Certified staff, I don't know what that ended up being. That's always odd. There's probably more. So if we don't hold the certified staff back, we're kind of getting further wider and wider one from the other. By giving a 2.5 to the non-certified, then give them a certified 4 or 4.5, whatever they're getting. So I don't know if that's a problem with anybody, but it may not be fair to, what you're doing there for cost of living. One to the other.
Yeah, it's the same to both people.
Yeah, the cost of living difference is the same for everybody.
Really should try to get that closer. But the teachers, they don't have a longevity incentive, do they?
No, but they have a matrix, which
Yeah.
allows them
Oh,
to get
matrix.
4.5 down, 4.5 across
Yeah.
for education.
Okay.
So they have some incentives built into their matrix.
Personally, I think we should be about 2.5. I don't know if we want to go 3, but I don't think we should go under 2.5, so. I don't know what the national cost of living raise was this year, actual numbers. That's why you talked to, probably. Talked to the government, it was nothing.
I'll give it to you.
I think it's in that range, 2.5 to 3.
Kelly, do you know our classified employees, what percentage of them, how many of them use all their sick leave?
Oh,
What I'm thinking is, do we offer enough sick days? And so, I mean, that's part of this too. I mean,
Because
you added another paid sick day, for example. and-
I'd say probably those with children definitely use closer to their full amount.
What do they roughly get, 2, 3?
5 days. They get
5 a year?
The parents get 5 days.
Parents.
The secretaries, well, myself and Tammy could work full-time. I think it's 10 days for us. But yeah, that's,
It's cumulative to 30, so they can bank them up to 30. During any given year, up to 3 days may be used for a family illness or death. So.
It's negotiable on death.
It is. But most of them use them for the kids, for example, so what if my kid is sick 4 days out of the year? Well, we kind of just take care of them, but, I'm just saying that's something else you could consider, I guess. And, I don't think that anybody uses them because otherwise they'd lose them, but, there would be more than a handful of classified employees that would probably benefit. I don't know how many would take, otherwise they miss a day of pay.
Is there any cumulative on
I'm saying,
the children sick and death?
it doesn't say so, just.
just 3 every year.
Three
So
every
that's-
year.
I guess that'd be more for up in that one, for sick day probably. But you're still gonna work with them on the funeral type thing, if it's
Sure.
close member, you're gonna.
And then they have 2 days, all classified employees covered under the sick leave policy are eligible with 2 days of personal leave.
And they have 2 snow days.
And we do pay 2 snow days. We added that, you added that last year. So, which they're gonna use it every year, they're gonna get paid for 2 snow days, which is appropriate. You're gonna increase staff.
I'm fine with 2.5, yeah.
Make a motion to approve 2.5% increase for classified wages for 2019-2020.
Second.
Second to myself, yes. Wyatt?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Dr. Thor? Kristen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Dr. Thorpe, do you want to add with that also that it's gonna be plus $50 for route for bus drivers?
Oh.
In your motion?
Yes.
For all of these except the shop, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All 3 of those for AC, that would be lighting in the old building, AC units in the old building, and the doors. And I guess LED lighting in the shop and the music room.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the extra 5,500, because we had talked about raising that limit a little bit to give us a little cushion.
Yeah, for any change orders.
Was that enough to cover that 5,500?
We were at 173,451, so we add 5,500 onto that.
We were talking about going to
Gone
200.
And gone to, they possibly go to 200 that we proposed last month.
So we could stick with that proposal and still have the 5,500 and be under, yeah, that little bit of cushion. Any more thoughts? I feel like it'd be fine to go ahead and do that proposal and add that heat while we're at it.
And
Kind of
again,
now or never deal.
you noticed, in your financial report, we've got a $936,000 balance in the building fund. We levy, add $625,000 to that. Now, how much has come in of this year's levy into that? Are we expecting any more
We have
of this fiscal
gotten so
year?
far in the building fund, to date, we've got $376,000.
We got 300,000 more coming on a 936 balance. So, I mean, the funds are there. It's good to have that very healthy cushion. But the funds are there for what you've mentioned last month and again.
So we are talking air conditioning in the shop class was part of it. Because we're gonna do lights and
Just
ceiling.
hold off on the shop area
Yeah.
for now.
Since we're doing the rest of that with it, now's the time to.
I would agree with you, just add it for the heat in the band room, that's, makes more sense to do it now.
Any objection to doing that?
Better do it now. But down the road, we do have, well, track, for example, that's gonna be a fairly large expense. And
Yeah.
You put any of this off, it's gonna start clashing with that.
Yeah.
We have to read the track in the
We
next few
do.
years, don't we?
I would say within 5 years, we probably better jump high on our priority.
We
list.
can't host conference or district or
Not
anything.
after this year.
Yep. So.
We hosted our last conference.
Yep.
It would be 5 years before it gets around to us again. But if we do nothing between now and not that we should do it just for the conference meeting, however, I mean, it continues to deteriorate, so.
The way I understand it, we've got to move the high jump into the infield.
We don't have to, but we need to.
We need to.
Yes, but the biggest expense on the track, we're getting on bird walking a little bit,
Yeah.
would be tile, would be drainage and tile, so it's not just gonna be a tear out and resurface again. If we tear out, we need to fix some drainage issues in the south and the east.
So I guess what I'm getting at is, I think we should do as much as we can now.
So what is our total cost? It won't exceed like 200,000, is that what you're saying?
179,000, in that ballpark, if we add the 5,500.
Now, out of that 900,000 we have sitting there, we probably have to make a payment out of that too, coming up.
That's
next
correct.
year's
We've got a payment coming up.
We got $425,000 payment in June.
Right.
And then you'll have a.
So-
But we'll have some
payment
more
in-
by
In
then.
December.
So we'll have, we'll be, I believe probably your July balance will show about 700,000. Once we make that payment and probably receive another, but yeah, we got 425,000 up here, each of the next 3 Junes.
Okay. Make that motion.
Yeah, I move that we accept the 8 projects that the Building Grounds Committee has recommended, and also add the 5,500 to Heat the Band Room, and cap at $200,000 for extra expenses.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, so first and second, Kristen?
Yes.
Second, yes, myself, yes, Wyatt?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Reg. I will be in touch. And we'll set up a plan. Mr. Buckley?
When do you think you'll be able to start on this, do you think?
Right now until like July 1st.
Okay.
Because we got a late start, we'll have to get stuff ordered and stuff like that, but just send me an email or something.
Will do.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you need the
You
campsite?
guys be completed by September 1 now?
August 1. What do we get, September?
Yeah, but there's a 10% discount.
No, like, a lot of the cost was electrical, I mean, because you have future electric, you can air condition a lot more, future.
So you have the same electricians you had last year?
Correct. No, it's not. It's not those electricians.
Okay.
We gotta be done at a certain time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Buckley, then we'll do the, your doors and stuff. He has a,
I brought you a
proposal.
sample what the glass would be in the gym.
So the
Doors.
doors on the west doors, so the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the doors to the lobby. Jim's,
Where are you at again?
Jim's, the gym doors.
The Pirate Gym.
Yes, the pirate gym doors that go to the lobby, so the 8
Oh,
doors,
okay.
that whole side,
Okay.
that whole end.
Wanted
Jim,
glass, you wanted glass?
we'd like to propose putting a glass,
Safety glass.
safety glass window in each of these. It just kind of opens up the optics a little bit.
And this is 8 by 24, dark row,
Okay,
from inside to inside.
so that's, something you
And then it
can
would be
do.
trimmed out on the outside.
How often are those doors closed?
They're, well, most of the day.
Are they?
They're closed. Yeah.
So that would be, have that wire in it and stuff, so it shadows?
No, this wouldn't have the wire in it because it's not big panels like that. It's just, it's like your windshield in your car has a plastic coating in the middle.
So that's, he has that included in his bid.
Okay.
On the bottom, the alternates would be at $1,800 and $5.
And half of that's glass.
Yeah. I think that would, dress up the look of those doors, and it does provide a little bit of a feature if, you don't have to open them to see who's in there, or what noise you hear, or, I think obviously more beneficial looking into the gym than out, but,
You're doing the ones on both sides?
this would just be the west.
Just the west.
There's that-
Not the ones on the
there's
locker
8
room
doors.
side, which you could do. There's half the number of doors on the locker room. But I just asked Jim, I said, just the public space. But he could do it in those others as well, which would be half of that 1,800, which would be another 9, but I wanted him to bring that idea to you.
We already approved it, right?
Oh.
Is it in the bid that we approved?
You kind of approved an umbrella bid, but, these are alternates, they're still alternates.
Oh, they aren't in the bid we were looking
The glass wasn't. And all these doors we're gonna fix, we're not gonna fill full of putty, we're gonna cut the door off and put new strips in them. They're gonna still be nice.
They'll look new.
They'll look like new doors.
for. So what's the lifespan of the doors? in the gym?
Lifetime.
Lifetime, in the gym that you're talking about these windows?
Yours lifetime or your lifetime?
Well, my son's taking over them and I'm not. Mine's not very long, so that wouldn't be very good.
If we add that, we're not gonna have much left in our cushion, are we? another safety issue, I suppose. So we have to vote on that?
Well, I don't think so. I think we've used, we got your support, that's good. Okay, thank you, Jim.
Sure. You're not gonna get your $20,000 check tonight. Okay, number 9, food service manager.
Okay, I've got 3 applications, 3 interviews set up this week. So one of them, well, all of them have a certain level of experience. One of them has experience as a food service manager. So we will see how that goes. I'll keep you posted, but, and still hoping for one more experienced application, so moving forward on that. These folks have penciled in to come in June. If we need them to, this would be lunchtime solutions, provided the only response to the RFP. So they would come and answer any questions that we may have at that time. I've gone through this a little bit, mainly went to the pricing. You know, and they can work up any kind of contract they want. I mean, they want the business, so they have schools they're prepared to take a loss in, just to be in business, initially. Now, they anticipate that they'll eventually work to a profit, which generally means passing on prices to the consumer. Maybe that works, but they will come to June at our request. They already have us penciled in, but I'll know a whole lot more, I think, at the end of the week.
Do you know any other schools that use that? I think you mentioned a couple
Yeah.
in the area.
Crofton and Bloomfield are 2 of the closer ones, but they
use this particular company right here.
Yeah. Now I'm not gonna find the list of schools that they're in, but they're,
That's fine.
yeah, many of them that you would recognize.
I thought Crofton. I knew Crofton.
Yeah.
I know some people that work for that.
They, okay, here, you know, Ainsworth and Somerville, Columbus, Chase County, Shad, Broken Bow. So those are some bigger schools. There's O'Neill, Nebraska City, Homer, Hershey, Hastings, Crofton. So, you know, most of the schools, once they make that transition, they're kind of pleased with it from a managerial standpoint. I mean, they just, and, you know, they tend to provide a pretty good service. Well, they wouldn't be in business.
And we have the option to retain the employees we have now.
Certainly.
To work for
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Just be
absolutely.
working
And that's
for them.
generally what they do, is that's their first choice, is to hire local. But like I said, I'll be more than a week, we have somebody that we can hire that already has that experience, and that'll be a big part of the conversation in my interview.
Okay, thank you. Number 10, review board policy series number 301.
Okay, shared these with you, and so if we look at those, I did provide some suggested language changes to these. On 30103, your activities director might not even be a certified staff member. That's possible, so that probably shouldn't be, person shouldn't be listed, you know, as in your hierarchy there. So, and our practice has been what I put here highlighted. Other appointed certified staff member with administrative endorsement. So, we've had folks in both buildings that we've deferred to in those rare instances throughout the year where, okay, we need somebody else to be the go-to person. So,
It should even be less now with 2 principals and staff.
yeah, absolutely. Because if Mrs. Thompson's gone, then Mr. Schmidt will take care of all business and vice versa. So, so I would recommend that language change in 30103. 30201, that's not necessarily right. I did go through all 301, sorry. So we get to 302s.
That's the end of the 301s, obviously.
That's the end of my any recommended change in language.
Motion to approve that change.
You can, yes, you could probably make a motion at the end for all,
For all?
if you want it.
Okay, all right, let's do that.
Just to be expeditious, so, on 30201, maybe a little more significant, it did strike out North Central accreditation, because we're not accredited through North Central. We're state frameworks, and so that should be wiped out on number 1. And then on 3, instead of superintendent or assistant superintendent of schools, just call that school administrator, at least 5 years successful experience as school administrator. I mean, you're generally hiring somebody who's a principal at a Class D school, has experience as principal, they would fit under school administrator. So it broadens your scope just a little bit, rather than saying, well, we're looking for a superintendent or assistant superintendent. And then if you do put school administrator on number 3, then you don't need number 4. So I guess it just maybe cleans that out a little bit. Okay, and then in 30204, superintendent shall make recommendation to the Board of Education for the appointment, assignment, or dismissal of all teachers of the school district. Well, superintendent also makes a recommendation to the board for the appointment, assignment, and dismissal of the principal. So that should be certified staff, all certified staff members. So that would include teachers and principals.
So you make the recommendation to the board, but that doesn't mean that it necessarily comes from you. It could come from the principal, whether to release a teacher or whatever.
Well, they make the recommendation to me, I bring it to the board.
Okay, so you're basically, you don't make the decision on whether they're, think they should go or stay, but you just
That,
transfer it on.
generally, that is absolutely the correct protocol. That, the principal's primary supervisor, so if we're talking about teacher, the principal's primary supervisor, they would make a recommendation maybe for non-renewal to the superintendent, which generally, the superintendent was gonna accept the principal's recommendation, the primary supervisor.
What does it mean by assignment?
Oh, when you hire a teacher, you hire them as a teacher. You don't hire them as an English teacher, social studies teacher, or PE teacher. You hire them as a certified teacher, and then you can assign them to any area, whether they're endorsed or not. If they're properly certificated, they can teach anything, if they have a teaching certificate. So, I think years ago, we used to put on I think my first year, we put on a teacher's contract, which really wasn't a contract, it was a renewal notice. 1.0 FTE English, social studies, science, math, which that's generally what you do, but if that's what you put on there, you can be held bound by that. If circumstances come up and you're like, ooh, we need a reassignment here for whatever reason. So you hire somebody as a teacher, you don't hire them necessarily as a specific, even though when you interview somebody, I mean, they apply for a specific position, but you need to have some flexibility and some latitude, given some unexpected, set of circumstances on where you would maybe assign somebody.
So you have to bring that to us also.
What's that? If we're gonna assign somebody?
To a certain.
Well, yeah, we would certainly bring that to the board and let you know that, for example, if we got an 8-period day and we have a teacher, an unexpected illness or whatever, and we have to fill.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Entertain a motion to declare an open meeting.
I so move.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Open Meetings Act is posted on the door back there, if you'd like to read that. Roll call, Krista.
Here.
Dr. Thor.
Yes.
Tim. Here. Wyatt.
Here.
Myself here. Trent is missing at this point. Consent agenda. With the agenda, the minutes. move through these fairly fast, so unless somebody has something to speak up if you do, we'll go on to the financials. So the percentage is getting a little wider all the time, our budget, we're gonna stay under.
Yeah.
Ask me in 4 months.
We had the Bush and Road come through this month as well, that's 65 grand, that usually doesn't come through until June or July, so
Oh,
that was a
doesn't.
little bit early.
Yeah, okay.
So that is,
Might catch up later.
yeah.
Okay.
Our annual paper order this month, as long as over. I mean, there's all expenses we're gonna have at some point in time. but,
Right,
uh,
yep.
Just a little front loaded now.
It might be a little nip and tuck.
Well, we might have to pull the toilet paper after the kids are gone.
Recycle.
Okay, we'll go on to claims. But they sold a lot of plants in the greenhouse.
Yeah, he did well. No, they had a smaller inventory this year, which was good. He's always had plenty to get rid of, but they grow them like crazy. You know, this year for whatever reason he has smaller inventory. Don't know exactly why, but and then he got rid of Ava at Honors Night when he sets up here, which he sells a lot more here than a lot of people, quite frankly, maybe don't. And the weather was bad again for his weekend, but. I know he was pretty pleased to get rid of a bunch of them at Understand.
Anybody else have any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move to accept the consent agenda.
Second?
First and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, nay. Motion carries. There's still no one here that wants to public comment.
Can I just say one thing?
Yep.
Just a quick follow-up from last meeting, guys. You went into closed session for several things. I didn't know if there had been any resolutions on any of that stuff, or.
I'll talk a little bit at my president's report on the exit interview.
Okay.
So if you have something on something else, well,
All right.
otherwise, if you have a question at that time, I can take those. Okay, reports, building and grounds.
Well, if you refer probably to the information from last month, I mean, Building and Grounds didn't meet, but I did gather some more information, brought a couple of the contractors here, the specialists here, who, they kind of passed the first month's conversation, and so before last month, before we're gonna approve tens of thousands of dollars, we need a couple more pieces of information, but we also would love to have the gentleman here that whose bid we'd be accepting. So now would probably be an appropriate time maybe to look at a couple specific things from J&S Interior. You have that from Jim. That's for the door restoration, replacement, all the new handle mechanisms that would be replaced. We go from knobs to high quality ADA handles, higher quality than went on the doors in the elementary. And so he can speak to that bid. And then Reg is here from Hastings to speak to the air cooling and heating if you desire. I think you have 5 sheets of paper. You have all those, Reg. Here, I'll hand those out then too. And this would be the areas of the south entrance, the superintendent's office, the shop, the entire shop area, including classroom and workspace area, and band room. So Reg can speak to all that. Reg did our work in the elementary building. And says if we'd have called him first before we called Train, we'd have saved a couple $100,000. I don't think he was serious. But he did, that great work over there, so he knows our facilities. So wherever it is that you want to start. would everything be tore out and replaced, so anything that, well, we don't have any cooling at all.
You don't have any cooling at all, so I can get started if you want me to, I'll just go over them real fast.
Sure.
That'd be
If that would
great.
help.
Yeah.
I would say that the first proposal that you should have would be the one that says, Plainview School AC office and front entry. So what we're doing is putting two separate systems in, one for the front entryway, which is approximately 5 tons. It'd be 3 indoor unit heads hanging in the ceiling. There's a lack of space in the ceiling, so we can't really run any ductwork or anything like that. So it'd be kind of like when you walk into an elementary school, you'll see ceiling set units that hang in the space. So it'd be 3 of them in the entryway. And the next part of it would be a 2-ton system for the 2 offices. So it'd be a single cassette unit in each one of those offices. And that'd be on its own system, heat pump, and the other one would be a heat pump also. So that'd be heat and cooling. The one thing, the reason this price seems higher than what it would used to be for HVAC is it's got electrical in it, which will serve the rest of the spaces. So we have to put a new electrical panel in down below. Got to run electrical all the way from the electrical room, which is all the way across the building. And then we'll put a new panel up on the roof to serve like future HVAC projects. Let me get any questions on that. But there really is nothing that we're taking out in that phase because there's no cooling to take out.
How much of the front entry are you talking about cooling?
Well, it's pretty much the T section, so it's all the way to the double doors. If you,
1920 door to the double doors, all the way to the tartan doors. So those 3 different sets of doors.
it's just a lot of glass. There's a lot of heat load.
The best thing about having that separate from your offices in the summertime, if kids aren't here, we don't need to cool that area.
Yeah,
next to your
that one
office.
down.
I mean, you can take that to 80 degrees and get the humidity out, keep the humidity out, and then you can keep it at 70 degrees in your office. And that's 2 separate systems too, so, I mean, you wouldn't have to run at all.
Would you have to air condition the front entry and still be able to air condition their office?
No.
They're
No.
separate. So you said that's heating too in their, just in their offices, not in the.
And the front entry as well, because when we go to like above 5 ton, I mean like a VRF type system, we go to 5 ton, it's automatically got heat with it. We can't just get it cooling only.
So you're saying if we decided not to cool the entryway, we can't cool his office?
No, you could break it apart, we could deduct the 5 ton unit off the system.
Okay, gotcha.
But you sell all the wiring.
Yeah, correct. But like, so the majority of the cost is the wiring. I mean, if you start looking at these other proposals, they're, 20s and 16s, I mean, majority of it's electrical.
Now heat and cool both areas.
Correct. Okay. This proposal right here is, the heat pumps, it'll heat and cool both areas.
So, this is gonna be more efficient, obviously, but can we turn the other heats off so they aren't running at the same time? Can you turn the heat off in the offices?
Well, the heat in my office is really the heat for the 1920 though.
Yeah, just, correct,
So
just the
you
pipes.
probably-
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, but that's not part of it.
No, correct.
So if we'd still call for heat in the 1920 building, Gail, it's going through my office.
So you're gonna be 120 degrees in there
Which,
possibly.
if you've been in there and when that thing turns on, it clangs for 5 minutes. I mean, it's just, it's time to deal with it. It's just time to deal with it.
Is that the end of a line that you could cap it off, or does it go through there and onto somewhere else and we have to leave it connected?
Like I said, I don't know the pipe routing. I mean, we can look at that as an option, to cap the lines or do something with it, but I
So
mean,
this Gail, do you know?
Well, that heat also, that's what heats your wrestling room right now. So,
It's all the same line.
so yeah, it's all, and that's, those big pipes, those carrier pipes, steam pipes, are right on the other side of the superintendent's wall, so he's getting the heat from both sides. His radiator and the other side of the wall. So he's always got the heat on.
So you'd have to play with it, you might not be able to use the new system to heat, if you can't turn.
you might not even need to. I mean, what's nice about this system, if he wants cooling when it's 4 degrees outside, he's gonna get cooling.
He wants to listen to the bang and.
So if it's overheating his space, he can be comfortable because it'll actually cool his space down for him.
It's not very efficient then.
But like I said, anytime you start talking about cooling, it's mostly for comfort. I mean, you don't need cooling, so it's more of a comfort thing. heat you need, so.
You heard it, you know,
We kinda like you, Dick. I don't know about Darren, but we kinda like you.
Okay, the next proposal is the band room. The band room is a 4-ton system. It's a 4-ton air handler that's hung above the ceiling. It'll have ductwork off. It's more of a conventional system, like one in your house. Air conditioner sits outside on the ground, just like a house unit. Have registers in the ceiling, stuff like that. Pretty straightforward. The option would be to do a rooftop unit if you want heat. So this would get rid of heat altogether in the space. And we'd add it just to be a rooftop, roof mounted on the roof. It has gas pipe to it. And you can add for that.
Go ahead, Gail.
To eliminate the heat, like you said, would actually be a huge benefit. It would keep your instruments and stuff that you spent a lot of money on in past years. If you could keep it at a constant level, then what we have right now would be great, even in the wintertime.
So we could eliminate the heat, old heat in that
Yeah,
room?
I'm sure you could get rid of the heat completely, the steam heat completely in there.
Because that's at the end, separate, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe that's at the end of that. So that's a high point there.
Okay, the next one is the shop area. All this is just like another conventional system. It'd be an air handler that's hung in the shop with an exposed spiral pipe with registers off the side of it. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Case unit sits outside. Everything is included in the electrical wiring. all that
This is
stuff.
just the classroom area.
No, the classroom's by itself.
Oh, this is-
They're broken up separately.
Okay.
This is what they wanted prices on, so. So that's one separate price. So again, you can add the heat. It'd be a roof mounted unit again, stuff like that. So I mean, that's probably something you could.
Oh, that heat, even on the previous one, isn't in that figure you got at the bottom, you gotta add.
Add, correct. Because they told us to keep it cooling first and then add heat to give you options. The next one is air conditioning the classrooms and the computer lab and a little office. This is just a 3-ton heat pump that sits on the roof. Each unit will have its ceiling mounted unit in each room, just kind of like his office would be in the front entry, same kind of system.
Which one are you on now?
The classrooms, and the computer lab.
Okay. Okay.
So this one would have heating and cooling as well.
So on the two that you have the option of heating, if you don't do it right away, you can always do it later, or is it more expensive to add it later?
So the band room, you do heat or you don't do heat, because there won't be enough electricity to do it. You have to do all electric heat, and unless it wouldn't be cost effective to add it later. You'd have to just replace the unit with a rooftop unit that use gas. If we wanted a gas furnace or something, we'd have to have a mechanic room to put it in the space. So you'd have to build a mechanic room to do an option like that. So rooftop's a better option. So it's two separate types of systems if you do cooling versus heat. But with the shop area, I mean, you gotta look at the dust too. So if there's a lot of dust, it's probably not feasible. Take care of the dust issue first maybe in the future, and then air condition the shop. I think would be my.
We'd originally proposed not doing the shop area this year.
Correct.
Until we got the dust.
I hate to do say something like I said, I would look at a dust collector for the dust.
Does it make any difference whether you got a rooftop unit or a ceiling hanging unit as far as the dust goes?
As far as the ductwork does it, but maintenance wise, rooftop's a lot easier to take care of. You don't have to crawl up over the ceiling, change filters, stuff like that. You don't have to worry about condensate drain leaks, stuff like that.
Do you have an opinion, Gail, on how you prioritize?
The band room, I would think would be a good idea to have the heat and air. And,
Well, these two plug their ears when you talk.
And,
You know where you get your coffee, Gail?
And your paycheck.
And your paycheck.
They still have coffee in the elementary? The shop, that's a tough one because you do have a dust problem, so that's,
What about the classroom over there? Does it get hot? Or is it
no,
kinda?
it's usually fairly cool. It's pretty cool.
Your shop air conditioner.
Mine? No, it stays pretty cool, keep the door shut.
Why it's
I should say it's cool in the wintertime. It's hot in the summer, but it is cool. It's cool in the winter. So it gets pretty hot in there at the beginning of the year, usually at the end of the year. But
There's no way to open doors, it really doesn't cool it down either, does it?
well, there is what we have done in the past is open up the bay door and let fresh air in, but then you're opening the door for an intruder that way pretty easy. So.
And the bids are all exactly the same as what we planned for. If you wanted to add the 5,500 for the band room, then would be the only addition. So we had
But I think it'd be a benefit to have both heating and cooling controlled in there with all the money we have. So
if you can cap off that other line as well.
So then our last proposal was, as far as